So I went in. This was a pretty good, safe bet. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very nerdy with some new 5-star predictions. So as of February, I will have finished the very last book that was on my most recent 5-star predictions. I'll leave it linked above so you guys can check it out if you haven't seen it already. But that means we are due for some more. So as I usually do, I've done this video twice before, so this isn't anything new for you guys, but I will section this video as I usually do, where I'm going to talk about the books that I gave 5 stars in the last video, kind of wrap up if I gave them 5 stars or not, and then go into my new 5 stars. So if you're only here to see the new 5 stars, don't worry, I'll have it sectioned down below and you can just skip right ahead. But if you're here for the whole thing, then let's dive in and see how I did in my current, or my most recent 5-star predictions. All right, the very first one is the only one that I don't own anymore on this list, which I feel like is very telling. And that is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I talked a lot about this book at the end of last year / beginning of this year. It was not my favorite. I think I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I'll have to double check what Goodreads is. If it's not 3.5, then it needs to be. The reason it was on this list to begin with is because it was a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I'd heard so many good things. It was a crazy hyped book, specifically on like Book Talk and stuff. And I usually am someone who falls into the hype. So I wasn't too worried about it. Like when I say falls into the hype, I mean like if a book is super hyped, there has to be a very big issue for me to not like it. Like there's a lot of, I fall into the hype a lot of the times when it comes to hyped books of liking them. So this was one that I was expecting to like because the hype was there. It was a Hades and Persephone retelling. It was supposed to be super smutty. Like it had all of the ingredients that I should have enjoyed in a book. And it was just genuinely okay. I didn't hate it. I'm glad I read it, but I don't have any desire to pick up anything else in the series, nor do I have any desire to pick up the kind of like secondary series this author wrote, where it's the same series, but it's from Hades' perspective. So it had all the ingredients there that I should have enjoyed it, and I just didn't. But I've talked about it a lot, so I won't talk about it too much. But that is one that fell. I think that's the one that fell like the most flat. Yeah, that's the one that got the only like 3-star on this list. The next one I have on this list was Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert, and I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. So it was pretty close to a 5-star. It just didn't quite get there. I think the reason that is, let me back up. The reason that I put this on this list is it is Greek mythology inspired, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a thing for me. I love Greek myth inspired works. Plus, I'd read the first 2 books in this series and loved them. I definitely gave the first one 5 stars. I'm pretty sure I gave the second one either a 4 or a 5. So I had high hopes for this one, and I like her writing. She's a very smutty writer, but this series is one that is a little bit more plot driven than, let's say, her Wicked Villains series, which is the other one that I've read. I went in thinking this was a pretty safe bet. I have learned that I don't hate them, but I prefer couples rather than triples. So I don't have a problem with a triple. It's fine. This one includes a triple. This book specifically is a retelling or reimagining of Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen. So it's a triple between the 3 of them, which I knew going in. I just had never read a triple before, so this is my first experience with it. And I think the chemistry dynamic is one that I'm not used to, which is why this one didn't get a full 5-star. But it got a 4.5, so it got super close. It just didn't make it all the way. Oh no, I said 4.5. That one got a 4. Next book on this list was Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. I read something else by this author. The reason this was on the list was because I've loved T.J. Klune's work. In the past, I'd read A House by the Cerulean Sea and really enjoyed it. Gave it 5 stars. And I heard this one was super emotional. And well, yes, it was super emotional. It only got 4.5 for me. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something about this book that I didn't quite give it a 5-star. So While this one fell a little flat as far as the prediction goes, it was still so good. I still love TJ Klune as a writer. I still will read everything that he writes. I want to like basically read his entire backlogged books at this point. And I just think that his world building is phenomenal. But I read this one earlier last year, so I don't remember all of my thoughts on it, but I do remember having like really enjoying the character dynamic and really enjoying the plot, but it was more character than I love in a book. Like, I'm more of a plot person. I think that might have driven it a little bit, but also like the main character is not one that you're supposed to enjoy as a person, so that might have played into it a little bit as well. So I didn't get a full 5, but it got super close. The next one is actually the only one on this list that did indeed get a 5-star, and that is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one was fantastic. So the reason it's on this list was because I had read the first one and really enjoyed the first one. It's a fantasy romance, and I was really in my fantasy romance vibe last year, and just based on the couple and where I had a feeling the series was going, which I'm pretty sure I was wrong about, but the idea that I had going into this book, I was pretty sure I was going to enjoy it. And I was correct. This is my favorite book in the series. I've read the first 4. There's 5 out right now. And there's a 6th one coming out sometime this year, but it's like a crossover between this series and a different series of hers. But this is still, to this day, my favorite book in the series. So it got 5 stars. I loved the writing. I loved the plot. The romance was perfection in this book. And I really liked learning about the world that has been opened up in this one. And it's a sequel. Like, as a reader, second books sometimes are not always the best ones, but that was not the case with this series. I fell head over heels in love with this story. I think everything in the series has gotten 5 stars, but this is by far my favorite in the series, and I just think very fondly of it, and I still remember a lot from this book. And the very last book that's on this list was the one that was holding it up, and that was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I had this on the list because I'd read things by Emily Henry and really enjoyed it. Plus, it was a book set around books, and I was like, perfect. I'm going to enjoy this because I'm a book person. And I did. I gave it 4.5 stars. It didn't quite get a 5-star. It didn't quite give me all the fuzzy, like, perfect feelings that I wanted or that I've received in like other books, but it was still super good. It was still right within that Emily Henry perfect writing style. It had so many references to books. It had a, like, if you're like a Hallmark girly or like if you enjoy Hallmark movies, this is perfect because it kind of plays into some of the tropes and some of the things that you see a lot in Hallmark style movies. So, like, it doesn't make fun of them. It's just kind of like, that's a big theme within this book. It's kind of like what you expect to see in the movie. And so I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was super cute. I loved the chemistry between the two of them. I think they're some of my favorites. Like, as far as Emily Henry characters go, I think this couple is my favorite couple so far. So I still, like, heavily enjoyed my time with this book. But there was just something that just didn't let me quite give it a 5-star. And with that, let's dive into my new 5-star predictions. So, I don't know about these. Now, the more I do videos like this, the more stressed I get because I know that not all of these are going to be 5 stars, and I don't know if I picked the correct ones. But here we are. Let me tell you what they are, and let me tell you my reasonings. The first one is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This one is purely on here because of the author. It is a historical romance, which you guys know I love me some historical romances, but I've never read historical romance by this author. I've only ever read contemporary romances. I've read the books that are in the London Calling series by this author, which is boyfriend material and husband material, as well as his newest book, which is 10 Things I Hate About You or something like that's not it, but like 10 Reasons I Don't Like You or something like that. And this one is a really chunky, so that's terrifying, historical romance that I'm very excited to see. It also involves some trans rep. I believe our female character is trans in this book, and it's her and this guy in their love story. And so I'm excited to see how he's going to layer in the representation while also talking about a time period where that is not acceptable. Like, I don't know how he's going to do that. He's written a few things that are kind of like historical romance, so I want to dive into all of his backlogged books, honestly, but this is the one that has called my attention the most. I'm just really curious about how he's going to write these characters in this setting. And I've given, I think, everything by this author a 5-star. Maybe not quite. I might have given Husband Material a 4 instead of a 5, but I don't remember exactly. But I'm pretty sure I gave everything by this author a 5-star. So he has a fan in me, and it has all the materials to be a 5-star. Like, all the ingredients are there. So fingers crossed. Another one is a sequel, and that is The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. This is the second in the HMRC trilogy. I loved the first one. I thought the first one was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. I could not stop raving about it. This one came out last year, and I just haven't made time for it yet. So I'm hoping that this is the year where I make time for this series. The third one should be coming out hopefully later this year. We'll see. We're also getting a prequel for this. So lots of stuff happening in this world. But it's a world where witches are real, and they are like a secret subsect of the government, and women run the government, which is new. But in the first book, we basically follow these 4 women who grew up together, and they learned their magic together, but have taken separate paths and are maybe not as close. And it really revolves around one of these women is basically the high priestess, or like, not the high priestess, but like, she's basically the ruling head of the government. And they have an entire department of oracles, and these oracles say that like, there is this big bad catastrophe kind of thing coming our way, and there's going to be a kid who's going to set this off. And this person, she thinks that she's found the kid, and so she's asked one of these other women to kind of help train this kid. It's way more than that. I talked a lot about the first book. It involves trans rights. It's very heavy on its conversation when it comes to trans rights, but I loved the way that it was done. I loved the world building, and it ended on a cliffhanger, so I need answers. But because of how the first one went, and because of my absolute love and devotion of the first book, I have high hopes for the second one. I hope the second one will be just as good. The next one is the only one that I'm a little bit hesitant about putting on this list, but I think it has the really good potential to be 5 stars. And that is this chunk, which is Beautiful Nightmares by KJ Sutton. This is the 4th book in the Fortuna Sworn series. There are currently 5 books out, but I have read the first 3. It is a thick boy, but it is the most recent one, and I'm pretty sure I've given every book in this series 5 stars. So I'm scared because I have an idea of where I think the romance is going, and if it goes in that direction, I'm not sure I will enjoy it as much. But if it doesn't, then I think I'll be okay. Either way, I love the world building. I love the character of Fortuna. I loved the romance so far. I've loved just where we're going. And the last one ended a little bit on a cliffhanger as well. So I just need answers, and I'm scared because this is a very large one. But this series basically follows our main character, Fortuna, who is a nightmare. And basically what that means is that she's a magical power to basically be able to tell what your worst fear is, but also can use that against you. So like, she can create visions and things of that nature. She believes that she is the last nightmare out there, except for her brother, who has gone missing 2 years before the start of this series. And everyone else is convinced that he is dead, and she is not. She's convinced he's still alive and out there somewhere, so she's continuing to look for him. And the story really kicks off when this fae shows up and basically says, I can help you figure out what happened to your brother, but you gotta marry me. And so she agrees to that, and the story goes from there. We have all kinds of magical, mythical creatures. There are both unseelie and seelie courts involved in this book. It is heavy on the drama elements of it. So every single book in this series has a content warning page at the very beginning. It's not super long, but they do have some content warnings in every single one of these books. So I would definitely check those out before going in, just in case something is triggering to you. But it's not an easy series to read, but I love the character of Fortuna so much. So I'm excited about this one. I really want to pick this one up sometime soon, but we shall see. The track record is there. The track record for this to be a 5-star is there. The next one is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, which is the first in this duology. I am obsessed with her These Violent Delights duology. I felt the first one was okay, but by the time I got to the second one, I gave the second one 5 stars, and it's like a new favorite of mine. And I do have both of the books in this trilogy as well as the novella that goes between them. So I think because I'm so invested now and I'm so in tune with these characters, because this is a spin-off in the sense of we follow one of the characters from that duology 10 years later. So I think this has the potential to be a 5-star because now that I am attuned to these characters and I know what's going on and I really liked the character we're following, this could be another 5-star very, very easily. But this series, the first series was a duology that followed kind of like a reimagining of Romeo and Juliet set in 1920s Shanghai. This takes place in 1930s. I believe it's also still in Shanghai. Yes. And we follow our main character, Rosalind, who is basically, I believe, a spy. And I think she ends up having to work with a fellow spy or a rival spy for something. So it takes place in history. There's definitely some historical elements to it. There is some fantastical elements. There was, at least in the first duology, so I'm assuming we'll have some fantastical elements within this duology as well. But I love it. I have this beautiful fairy lit edition that I'm obsessed with. And I'm excited to see more of her story because she is a character that I find absolutely fascinating. So this has really good potential as well. And the very last book that's on this list is one that I don't own yet. I'm going to get my hands on it. I just don't know when. And that one is Throne of the Fallen. And this is the spin-off series after the Kingdom of the Wicked, which you guys know is a new favorite series of all time. I became obsessed with that series last year. I read the entire trilogy. The first one I think got 4 stars, but the other 2 got 5 stars. I fell so hard for these characters and this world and her writing. Like, everything about it was amazing. So this spin-off series, basically in the world that she has created for Kingdom of the Wicked, there are these 7 princes of hell, which are the 7 like deadly vices or sins or whatever you want to call them. And so in the main trilogy, we follow Wrath, and he is the kind of main male lead, but we also meet a lot of the other characters as well. And in this spin-off series, and I say series because this was a standalone, but she has announced that there's another one now. They're all, I believe, standalones that follow the different princes of hell. This one specifically follows Envy, which is one of the princes that there are definitely, okay, so in the original trilogy, the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, there are princes that are more involved than others, but are not the main character. And Envy is one of those. Envy is one of the ones that is more involved in the story, but was not the main one. And so this one follows him. And I honestly don't know a whole lot about this story. I just know that I am in love with this world. I'm in love with her writing. I'm in love with these characters. So like, this has the potential to be a new favorite. And it has, again, all the ingredients to be perfect. So this is definitely on here because of how much I enjoyed the other series that is connected to this. And I'm excited to see how I feel about this one. I really want to get my hands on it. I don't know when, but I will. And then, of course, she's a new one coming out this year. I believe it's later this year, which follows a different prince. So I am very excited about these. And this one has the potential to be like the highest rated of the ones that I've put on this list so far. So those are all of the books that I'm going to add my new 5-star predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know, as always, if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, if you know my kind of reading style and rating system, if you agree with me and you think I will enjoy any of these, or if you'd like to add one that you think would be a 5-star prediction for me, let me know. I'm always down for adding some of the books that you guys love. But let me know how you think I did. Did I do decent on what I think is going to be 5-star? I don't know. It seems like it takes me a year to read books like this. So this is becoming an annual tradition of once a year I just do a predictions video. And here we are. So I'm very excited to see how these go. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome and growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links. So check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!